Hello everyone, Johnny Man here, and today we'll actually start learning Japanese with video games. Today we'll learn Japanese with Super Mario Bros. You might be asking yourself, what can you learn by playing Super Mario Bros. Since there aren't many, there isn't much dialogue in that game, and that's a fair point. This stream and maybe other ones still dedicated to this game will be peculiar in the sense that the plan is playing one level of Super Mario Bros, then pause it and teach you one or more hiragana syllables. What is hiragana? Hiragana is one of two syllabaries used in Japanese, the other being katakana, but we'll cover it another time. And we'll start with hiragana, and learn one of the basic writings in Japanese. Okay, let's start Super Mario Bros. As you can see, I'm playing it on the NSO Family Computer app. And so we can see the original box art and the original name, Super Mario Bros. Okay, let's start it. Let's see. Okay. Just I try not to use them, but if necessary to not lose all the progress, I'll use also the rewind feature. Let's hope I play well enough that we don't need it, but of course what matters is that we don't lose progress in this case, and we can proceed with the lessons. Okay, let's start. Oops. Sorry. Okay, now should be good. Let's restart it just. Okay, now there shouldn't be. And of course, immediately, let's reset. Sorry, distracted by checking there weren't any more issues, but luckily there don't seem to be. Let's avoid the shortcut, just to see more of the level, even though practically everyone knows word 1-1. Also seen recreated in countless. Yes, under there it tells you about the rewind feature in Japanese. we won't focus on. Says even if you make a miss, it's okay. If you keep pressed for long, the L and the R, you can rewind and so on and so on. But that's not the focus today. Whenever we play other games on NSO, that will show again, so it's not an issue. Okay, we have finished one level, so we can move on to the lesson. It should be this. Okay. We start with the very first. You should be able to see my cursor. In case you don't, I'll still open the second image to show the stroke order thanks to that, but hopefully it shows. This is the very first hiragana letter, and it's the syllable A. It's quite important in Japanese. The stroke order, that's important because sometimes you could potentially make mistakes if you don't follow it. Make it less clear which symbol it is, and so on. And also, you should follow the traditional stroke order. And we can see the basic rules, which are, first and foremost, from left to right. And so you do the first line at the top, from left to right. Then the second rule, from top to bottom. And so from the very top to the bottom. And last but not least, from top to bottom, but with the curve, this long stroke. I'll show it also with this image, just so in case the cursor didn't show. As you can see, the steps, first the top, from left to right, then from top to bottom, and then from top to bottom again, but with the curve. So this is the symbol for syllable A. And with, unfortunately, as we'll see, there won't be as many tricks to remember what each symbol what sound each symbol represents. But in this case, something that I noticed and that helped me is that the final one kind of resembles an alpha. So, kind of course, because it's not. And so that could help you as a mnemonic trick to remember that it's the syllable A. In addition, we see at least one word with each letter, with each syllable combined with previous ones. And in this case, we have A. I should mention that speak a little about phonetics and phonology, in this case phonetics. Japanese vowels tend to be similar to the ones found in languages like Spanish or Italian, for lucky me. So if you know those one of those languages or other European languages like French to an extent, German even, but especially Spanish might be the one you know for those in America. And if you don't know, good enough approximation in English could be the A in father, simple A. I should mention that if you are from, if you speak in an English variety that has long vowels, keep in mind that like, for example, the one in father, you should avoid it when the vowel isn't long in Japanese, because vowel length is a feature that distinguishes words, and we'll see it now with my two examples. This one, as you can see on the top, never mind the second symbol because we'll see it again, but if you look at the other forms here, down here, you can see that there's also a variant with A alone, so we'll consider it for the moment, and also in the example. And yes, a simple short A is the expression of surprise, recollection, etc., like A in English, A-O. And about vowel length distinguishing words, we can see it immediately because there's also the word A with written with two hiragana A, or also this other format. This is a symbol that shows that the previous vowel is lengthened, but we'll see it more in detail when we'll study katakana. And yes, in this case, it's it can be also the exclamation, of course, if the exclamation is actually longer, also a sign of confirmation. But the most important thing is that A, long A, unlike short A, can mean also like that, that way. It's part of the Koso A, Koso Ado series, which we'll eventually study, which is important for the demonstratives. Okay, now we have seen the syllable A. We can go back to our Super Mario Bros. Okay, should show. Okay. And Another classic tune. And classic level also referenced, not as much as the level as 1-1 of course, but the music is found in many other Mario games. Let's get a star. Okay. Nope. Let's go back. Went back a little too much, but yeah, not taking the warp stone at the top because we are going through all the levels as that will allow us to see all hiragana syllables. That will be able to finish the game tonight, and that's also good, and so we can see it at a slightly slower pace. Relatively so, since we have already beaten another level, and so we are going back to our letters. See, okay. Okay. Now we see the syllable for the E, because the vowel order in Japanese is different. It's A, I, U, E, O. If you watch if you've watched the Nintendo Direct on March 27th, you might recall it from the new Rhythm Heaven example. A, I, U, E, O. And so yeah, we have syllable E. In this case, you could also say that it is kind of an E if you move the dot at the top to the right, but unfortunately we won't be as lucky with other letters, so let's take it while it lasts. And so yes, this time left to right, top to bottom. We have top to bottom this way, and then top to bottom again, but on the right. So yes, from left to right usually applies also to the whole elements of a kana. And so yes, in this case, 1 top to bottom and 2 top to bottom, and we went from left to right globally. As you can see here, also the stroke order. Not sure what other image I wanted to show then, but never mind. And yes, so we have seen our second syllable, our second vowel. In this case, again, if you know Spanish, Italian, and so on, it's the same E. as in those languages, while in English it's practically identical to the E in C. Of course, as usual, keep in mind the vowel length. Let's see a couple of words combining the syllables we've seen so far. Never mind that in this case it shows the kanji, but of course we're not studying kanji anytime soon because there are a lot and they're way more complex than kana, and of course kana is the absolute basic of way to write Japanese. But as you might see above the kanji, in hiragana, that's the name used for the kana used as a way to show the pronunciation of the kanji. You can see, I'll make it bigger so you can see it better. I love. I also use, if it works, I have a plugin that shows I'm showing this because in Japanese there's a particular kind of accent. In English you'd say stress, but it's actually quite different compared to English stress, and so it's actually called pitch accent. Pitch accent, as in words are distinguished by their each syllable in a word as either a low or high, usually actually medium pitch, and the accent is when that pitch falls from a high, again usually, or like medium, but usually they say high in notation, to low, and in this case it's as you can see by the line here, I. I'm telling you because pitch accent is actually can be used to distinguish words, and so it would be better to learn it and to recognize better words when spoken by a native person, a native speaker, to speak more like a native speaker, but luckily you can be understood without it. It's not like in Chinese where tones are essential, luckily, but I'll try my best to tell you what the pitch accent is. Unfortunately, sometimes I might make mistakes because unfortunately I wasn't taught about it at the start. I was never taught about it at any of the courses I took privately or at university. and only discovered it on my own later, and so it isn't perfect for me, but I'll try my best. So we saw the word I, which is the word for love, affection, care. As an example, just for then we have others, but let's not focus on them. I, love. Another example of a word with E is the adjective E. Here you see it as written as yoi, because that's the more formal version, but usually you find it as E. I again zoom in to show it to you. Good, which means good, excellent, fine, nice, and so on. Good, it's the best simple translation for it. Again, doesn't show it in my dictionary, but it should have again a high-low accent. So E, you can see it also in its variant yoi. It also has a high-low. And I'd say that's it for this syllable. Let's go back to Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. Okay. And here we are. Word 1, 3. Luckily, still an easy level. Don't mind my mistakes before. As soon as I say it, I fall. Let's go back to not lose time. Shouldn't have jinxed myself, but of course I did. And so, here we are. Here's word 1, 3 done. So, let's stop again. And go back to our hiragana syllables. Okay, the window. Speaking of, as in, let's go to the word hiragana for a second, so I can show you the pitch accent again, since we are talking about it. Usually, as shown, it's hiragana, because it's practically a compound word. And one rule is that if the first one basic rule of a pitch accent is that if the first syllable is low, the next one is inevitably high and stays high until a potential pitch fall, which is where we mark the accent of a word, in this case after the ga of hiragana. Hiragana. Yeah, I was stressing, pun intended, that it's different from English stress and also stress in other languages like Spanish, Italian, and so on, because you shouldn't put further stress on the syllable where the accent, quote unquote, of the word is, and keep them, in this case, for example, keep them short also. Hiragana. Also, I can mention briefly mention what hiragana means. Kana in kana, as you can see, kana means temporary names because of their origin. We won't go too deep into it. While the hira before would mean plain, because it's the basic form of kana. And as we have started seeing, it's based on cursive forms of kanji. Kanji is the Japanese name for Chinese characters. Chinese characters, which are the ones we keep on seeing usually for these words, because Japanese still uses Chinese characters in a mix with kana. And so yes, just wanted to specify that since we are talking about hiragana and kana in general, so wanted to mention what they are in short. So let's move on to the next syllable. Yeah, as we can see it here. Of course, usual rules, top to bottom. So the first one, top to bottom, when it comes to the singular strokes and also globally. So from here, top to bottom, and again, top to bottom. Top to bottom, top to bottom. As you can see it here also, it's a simpler it's written much simpler here, and you can find also simpler than that. This is more like if you were to actually write it not only by hand, but literally with a brush, because that's what Japanese traditionally uses. The famous Japanese calligraphy you might have seen, which are written with a brush. And so yeah, we have the syllable as you might have noticed, it's unfortunately this is the most complex vowel when it comes to Japanese, because you can't there isn't a sound exactly like that in Spanish, Italian, and so on, and not even in English, because the sound is an. But we can say that to get close to it, we can start with an U, like in don't want to say the ones like in, you could also say with like the one in wool, etc., but that risks of further taking of you away from the actual sound. Long U. So when the usual double O in English, even though unlike, of course, like most English ways of writing words, it's never always the same. But yes, you take that U, which is also the U seen in Spanish, Italian, and so on. You make if you notice, when if you try to make it, you notice that your lips are rounded when you pronounce it U. You have to not round your lips, and so make a and then it's actually more fronted, but let's say a good enough approximation would be a U, but not rounded. There's also the matter that it's actually compressed and so on, but don't mind that. When Japanese people speak in fast speech, it usually is simply unrounded, and that's a good enough starting point. If you really cannot do it yet, I recommend saying it as U, simple U, Spanish U, double O in English when it's not irregular, and so on. Let's see a couple of words. Au, which is the verb au. You can hope you can see. Fortunately, it's small. It's not that big. Maybe like this. Au, again high-low, which is the verb to meet, and then also to meet in other figuratively, but the basic translation is, the basic meaning is to meet. We'll see then that it doesn't take the classic object particle, but that's for later. So au, meet, and then you. This is an example of a verb with pitch, low, high pitch. Actually, when you find words with first low, all the following ones second, it could be actually a so-called not accented word. And that's the case here, because luckily when it comes to verbs, a verb is either accented always on the second to last syllable, unless it's conjugated, but that's for another time, or not unaccented, like in this case, you, to say. You can see here a second hiragana transcription, because since it's I-u, a combination of I-u, it can be changed to you especially in fast speech, I'd say, but not necessarily. But more often than not, it should be written you, and of course, you actually don't see it if it's one or the other, because usually it's written in kanji. But to start, the basic form is actually you. And so yeah, we have here we have seen another syllable, so we can move on. Let's okay. Let's go back to Super Mario Bros. 1-4, and so the end of the first word. Of course, distracted. That's what happens. Okay, never mind. That I'll keep for now. Although it would have been cool to show what happens when you defeat Koopa. That's Bowser's name in Japanese, with fire. But we'll just defeat it with the axe. And yes, as you can see, we have opened it as with the Japanese app Famicom Computer. It's the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. But the message was still in English, because apparently that's the case. So now that we finished World 1, Level 1-4 and World 1 in general, let's go back to our syllables. And since we have finished a word, not just a level, we'll see 2 syllables this time. Let's start with E. As usual, left to right, top to bottom. So, like this. Left to right, top to bottom. It's a single stroke. And then again, left to right, top to bottom. One, and 2. As you can see here, yes, the second one is a single stroke and quite long one. You go from the left and then down and then make the curve, go back and make the curve. And yes, this is the syllable E. Again, if you know Spanish, Italian, it's like the open E in those languages. The distinction is important in Italian, but and so in English, practically the E in get. The thing is that in Japanese, it's actually in exactly a middle E, not that open, and not as closed as the E found in the diphthong sei, for example, in English, oppure or E, closed E in Italian and other languages. But that's if you say it like the E in open E, the E in get, that's perfectly fine, honestly. Just wanted to specify it if in case when you listen to Japanese people and notice that it's not exactly the same. So yeah, we've seen this one. Let's move to the next one. This is the small one. We won't see these ones for now because they're not usually seen in hiragana, but in katakana. By the way, this is the pronunciation of katakana. Again, katakana. So again, second to last syllable, but and the meaning would be kana as in fragmented because it's actually a fragment, a part of katakana is actually based on parts of kanji, while usually hiragana is based on cursive form of kanji as a whole. Let's go back here and see the second syllable, which is the last one of this so-called row. In the names for these sets are take the name of the first syllable of the row. In Japanese, agyo. Agyo. Show it again here. Column. But gyo usually means row. In this case, column, but that's because of how the table of kana are usually written. So let's go back to syllable O. This one is slightly more complicated, but of course, as usual, left, right, top, bottom. So we started with this. And there's also this kind of general rule. There are some exceptions, as we'll see, but usually that's the rule. The horizontal stroke comes before the crossing vertical one. So like this, from left to right, top to bottom. Usually you write it this as a whole. And then the comma. This is similar to what we'll see is the Japanese comma. Not exactly, but it's similar. And again, left to right. Left to right, top to bottom. And again, left to right. And globally we went left to right again. Here you can see them. This is how you more often than not see it written and also write it without all those. It's much simpler in practice more often than not. So again, yes, left to right, top to bottom, with so you make this curve here and then go here, and then the comma. Yes, this is a syllable O. Again, what I said about syllable E, vowel E, the same applies here. It's open O of Italian, O in Spanish. And in English, it's like in caught, thought, in, of course, the variants of English that do not have the merger with, it was the lot thought merger, if I recall correctly. And so, yes, this is the sound. Again, in Japanese, it's actually an in-between, it's middle, so an in-between between closed and open O. But if you go with the O, as in thought, caught, of those variants of English, you'll be fine enough. It's perfect. Okay, let's see some words. In the case of for E, we see the E, which is one of the ways to say yes in Japanese. Let's make it, let's zoom in. Should keep it the zoom in at this point. E, again, high-low. Then other meanings, but it's not actually the most common. I shouldn't say common, because you can actually find this one quite often. I should say less formal, less standard way of say yes, but still quite common, and you can use it. And you see it used. But of course, we'll have to learn the other one as well. E. Then we can see the opposite. Before moving to that, we can see this word. ie, ie. As you can see, low, high. If you use a dictionary, a plugin that uses this way of marking pitch accent, when you see the line fall like this means that it's actually a word that's accented on the last syllable, unlike the unaccented ones, which when the word is taken on its own, they are practically the same, also in pronunciation. But when you add something after them, then it changes. In this case, the following syllable would be low, while for an accented word, you'd keep the accent. You'd keep it high. We'll see that again later when more in detail, but wanted to at least introduce this matter because, again, I wish I was taught such things when I started, but unfortunately I wasn't, and it's not common even to this day. So we saw the word for house, resident, dwelling, home. Keep in mind that there's also another word using the same kanji, which means specifically one's house, one's home, one's family, and so on. Uchi, but we'll see it when the time comes. For now, a generic house, the word is ie. Wanted to show this word before moving on to the next one, which is topical for what we have seen at the start, because this is the standard word for no. No, also in the sense in response to thanks and so on, because of course in the sense not at all, don't mention it, just like in English. Here it doesn't show the pattern, but it should be. Let's see if the other dictionary shows it, because this case it should be, yeah, low, high, high, and it's actually accented. The accent is on the last one, even though usually you won't notice it because there aren't parts that you attach to it. But yes, ie means no. Okay, let's see a couple of words for o. Ao. Ao, which means blue. And there's the whole matter of blue and green not being distinguished in Japanese. Once upon a time, luckily nowadays, apart from certain compounds, usually Ao is blue. Only in certain compounds it's green. Usually it's blue. So So blue, as in the name of the color, blue. Because if we want the adjective, we have to add e after the word, and it becomes aoi. Aoi. As you might have noticed before, when we saw another adjective, e, adjectives, or I should say these kind of adjectives, true adjectives, because there's another kind, but we will see it when the time comes. True adjectives end with the vowel, with the syllable e. And so we have aoi. In this case, the pitch changes, and for adjectives that are accented, the pitch is always on the second to last syllable. So luckily, that's an easy rule, just like for verbs. Of course, then there are all the changes when it's conjugated, but because yes, true adjectives are conjugated, as we'll see, but that's for another time. So the noun, the color blue, ao. The adjective, aoi. Aoi. And so we've seen some words with the syllable, both the syllable e, the syllable o, and let's say we can take a break. As usual, I'd say at most 5 minutes, and we'll be back with some more Super Mario Bros. And then, of course, learning more hiragana. Okay? See you in at most 5 minutes. And we are back. Before I remove the on break graphic, as you can see here, it's on break in English, and this is the word for it in Japanese. I could add some furigana. Too bad that I should. That means making the graphic again, but I can do it eventually. The word is kyukechu, in the middle of the break, recess, but we'll see it again later. Okay, let's remove that. And let's continue with our Super Mario Bros. We have finished the first word, and so we can move on to word 2 and level 2-1. Yes, I expected there to be. Please, let's not start like that. Because I'd like possible to keep to show what happens when you hit Bowser with 5 flowers and with 5 balls, but okay, let's continue. Okay, this nope. Let's ignore that. Yeah, sorry, but I'm much better at other Mario games, to be completely honest with you. Despite having this game as a child, thanks to my older siblings, I've never actually finished it. Usually I went to the later worlds thanks to the warp pipes, but I've never bothered finishing, so this will be the occasion for me to do so. I know with rewind, but I don't mind. Eventually I might play it without that, but to be honest, I don't particularly care. The most important thing is that we need to move on, especially to not start from the beginning. Keep the ball rolling. Okay, and we got a firework even because of the time. Okay, so we finished the previous all the syllables of the A column, agyo in Japanese, a u e o, and so we can move to the kagyo, the ka column. Let's go back here and move on to the syllable ka. From left to right, so like this. Then from top to bottom. Kind of again, it applies the horizontal stroke first, and then the vertical, in this case slanted, but doesn't matter. 1 top to bottom, and then the comma. So left to right, this one, top to bottom, and comma. As you can see here, syllable ka, written with the ka as with a k, because while the vowels in transcription usually are like those seen in Spanish, Italian, the consonants usually are like the ones in English, so k, ka, the k for the k, ka. And so we can see some words with ka. Aka. 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 Red. Also crimson, scarlet, but usually generic red. Aka. Again, this is as in the name of the color. To make the adjective, you guessed it right. It's you add an i at the end. Akai. In this case, unfortunately, while the noun had the same pattern as ao, high, low, unfortunately the adjective is an accented one, our first one, akai, akai. Then we can see, let's see this word, to see another one. Kau, again unaccented. Kau, kau, to buy. Quite a useful verb. Kau. Okay. We can go back for now to Super Mario Bros. And the next level. Our first water level. Another classic tune, that's honestly the case for all tunes from this game. Our good old bloopers and chips. Won't focus on the names of Mario enemies in Japanese now, since we're not actually seeing them on screen. I'd say that's best kept for when they show up in a game that writes them. Also because, to be honest, while these ones I do know quite well, when we'll see, practically I know all the ones from Super Mario Bros. But in later games, then it starts getting more complicated. I might have seen them before on wikis and so on, but might not remember them. Okay, let's go back to our syllables. Since I missed saying a certain something before, we can remedy it now, because as you can see, if we move to the next one, we have this one, As you might notice, it's the same symbol as ka, except for these two commas, additional commas on the top right. So again, same stroke order as ka. And then from left to right, 1 and 2. As you can see here, same order, big comma, which is part of ka as a whole, and then the two commas. And yes, as it says here, this is the so-called Daku 10 dot mark that of Daku. Let's search it here so we can, no, not Dalu. That's not a sound in Japanese. Daku 10, voiced literally dot spot mark. That literally muddies Daku 10, as you can see from the Daku 10. And yes, as it says here, it turns an unvoiced consonant into a voiced consonant. So, what we've seen before, this is the syllable for ga. G is the voiced consonant corresponding to k, and so by adding the Daku 10, we get the syllable ga. So we'll actually see for a moment at least one. And yes, the most important use of ga is as a particle. Particle are used after nouns to indicate the role of that noun in sentences. In this case, the subject. We see that unfortunately it's not as easy. Don't mind these other parts because they are more advanced. Unfortunately, it's not that easy because of a certain other particle, as we'll see. But when you see the particle ga, it's the subject of a sentence. And as I said, this is one of the things. Particles usually are what you can see attached to nouns, and so you can see the distinction between words accented on the last syllable and those unaccented. In the first case, we will have ga would be low and the previous syllable would be high. In the case of an word accented on the last, so high, low. And in this case, in the case of unaccented words, ga would be high, just like the previous syllable, because there's no actual pitch fall, and so it remains high. We could see other words, but honestly, for now, let's focus on the ga as the subject particle. Now we can move on to the next syllable, the one for this level we've just beaten, ki, again left to right, and also top to bottom globally, left to right, top to bottom, like this, left to right, top to bottom, this way. As you can see here, quite often the bottom part is actually divided in two, and so the stroke order in that case becomes like this, the same, left to right, top to bottom, but then we have a left to right separated one at the very bottom of the character. One thing that I didn't mention that I can mention here is that all syllables, but also kanji, all kana, all but also all kanji, are written as if they were in squares of the same sizes, and so you can imagine even when this is separated, it all stays in the same square. But we see it better when we see kanji. But it was at least worth mentioning now. Okay. Again, the same what we've seen with ka can also be done with ki. Before and so we can add the dakuten and get gi. There's also the matter with the g sounds that there's an alternative nga, like the ng in sing, but honestly, more and more we see in Japanese people also pronouncing always as ga, gi, gu, ge, go, without the nga, gi, gu, ge, go alternatives, usually morpheme medial, so also for the particle nga. But keep it in mind just in case you of speakers that still use that. One more thing about pronunciation is that when a consonant is followed by e, it becomes palatalized. So that's why I pronounced it as ka, ki, k, ki. There's a difference, but honestly, if you are not able to do it at first, it doesn't matter. But you'll definitely hear it when Japanese people speak. So we can see now some words. For example, something like kikai. kikai, which can mean kikai, as you can see, kikai, on ka, the accent, kikai. Machine, mechanism, and so on. But also with different kanji. And that's one of the reasons why Japanese still use kanji, because they help distinguishing words when written. When spoken, there's only the context that helps you. We have also kikai, as in chance, opportunity, occasion, and also other ones, but wanted to at least show a couple. There's also a peculiarity of that we can see in the word kikai. The vowel between two unvoiced consonants, if that vowel is, especially if that vowel is I or U, it becomes unvoiced, and so you can either barely hear it, or it's not heard at all sometimes. So kikai, which is different than if I were to pronounce, for example, the same, the first kanji on its own, it would be ki. Well, I can show you a word that doesn't have that issue. Let's make it easier. The word ki. Even though it has only one syllable, as you can see here, it's a word accented on the last, in this case, only syllable. So if I were to add a particle, it would become ki-ga. Ki, high, and ga, low. Kiga. And so, yeah, as I was mentioning, in this case, you can hear the I in ki, while in the previous case of kikai, you barely hear it, if not at all. Let's see one word with gi. For example, kagi. Which is, funny enough, the word for both key and lock. So that actually is distinguished by context, but honestly, you see how that is when we see it in practice. In sentences, once we get there. Again, word accented on the last syllable, kagi. Okay, and so we are done with this one. We can move on to the next level. the classic bridges with chips. Classic level. Actually, relatively short one, as long as you don't get hit by chips. And so, word 2, 3 is done. We can go back to our syllables. K, again with the sound. K. Quite easy, as it's one single stroke from top to bottom. It curves like this, but it's really easy. As you can see here, top to bottom, like this. As always, we can add the Dakuten, and so have the syllable G, Ng in the middle of morpheme medial alternative pronunciation, but you can you can pronounce it as G for now, if not ever, as honestly there are variants that, as I was saying, there are variants that don't make that distinction. Again, easy. We write the hiragana as usual first, top to bottom, in this case one single stroke, and then the Dakuten, 1, 2, single stroke from top to bottom, Dakuten, as you can see also here. As for some words, you can see this one, kaku, to write, also in the sense of to compose, but also to draw, to paint. More often than not written with a different kanji, but for now we're not studying those, so it's both kaku. Another example for ku is the verb, well, also this word, which is aku, evil. Again, first high, second low. Evil, wickedness. But also with a different kanji, and in this case also a different accent pattern. And that's why, if possible, it's better to actually learn them. These are the accent I mentioned. The accents I mentioned are those in the standard language, based on the Tokyo variant of Japanese. There are other dialects of Japanese that have different accent patterns, but of course we focus on the standard. also because it's relatively easier compared to other ones. So, aku, which means to open. To open as in the intransitive verb. So, for example, don't mind the different particle here. Using the subject particle we have seen before, we could say, for example, doa. Of course, we'll learn how to write it another time when we cover katakana. Doa ga aita. Well, of course, to explain it, the door was open. This is the conjugated past form of aku, but we'll see that later. Just to what I wanted to focus on is the fact that this is the intransitive form of the verb open. To say to open, as in the transitive verb, that is with a direct object, you use a different verb. Or to be precise, a different, the transitive form of aku. We can see an example. Well, we have seen kaku. You can see the verb. Well, also the word kagu, furniture. Again, high, low. Kagu. While the verb kagu, in this case, again, a distinction seen due to the different accent. Low, high in this case, because it's actually an accented verb. Kagu, to sniff, to smell. Let's see at least one more word with gu. Guai, condition, state. Guai. As you can see, again, an accented, so low, high, high, and there's no fall, even if we attached a particle, like in the example, kuai ga. So gu a I ga. And yes, it's a condition, state of health, and so on, but state is the condition, state is the fundamental meaning of the word. Okay. We can move on. Okay. Let's go back to word 2-4. And so the castle of this word. Oh wow, barely avoided falling. Okay. Autobus or lava bubbles, however you want to call them. They have so many English names. Oops. In Japanese, I think they're just baburu. bubble. Okay, I should be more careful. Okay, and so this time we kept the 5 flower. Of course, if I don't fall into the lava, as is. Oh wow, barely. Let's try to defeat Bowser. Like this. And as you've seen, it was actually a fake Bowser. It was a Koopa in disguise. And so, we have finished World 2-4. We'll also make, we'll pause, and also, wait, this is low. Okay. According to the menu, this is the load option, Rodo in Japanese. The same word as load in English, but with the Japanese pronunciation. Notice the longer vowel Rodo, and that's the single line from left to right between the other two katakana. While this is the save option. Literally, it says anywhere. Doko demo sebu. Sebu, same word, is the save in English. Of course, slightly modified according to the Japanese phonology, phonetics and phonology. Doko demo anywhere. We'll see those words later, but we'll save in the save data 1, save data 1. Let's save, okay. Because I think after we are now moving on to see 2 more hiragana, and most likely I'd say that will be the end of this stream, because wouldn't make sense to start a new word and especially a new row of kana after that. But first, let's move on to the next ones. Ke. Again, left to right globally. So, from top to bottom, the first stroke. Like this. Left to right, this one. And then the one that crosses it from top to bottom, like this. Globally left to right, top to bottom the first stroke, left to right the second one, the third one from the top to the bottom. As you can see here, slightly simpler as we have often seen between the two different styles. Again, like this. Top to bottom, left to right, top to bottom again. As usual, we can add the Dakuten to have the syllable ge. And then we have the last syllable of the kagyo, the ka column, ko. globally top to bottom, left to right, then in this case we go back, and top to bottom, left to right. This is a single stroke. Left to right, top to bottom. Yeah, as seen here, more often than not, it's not as complicated as this one, as this style. You simply go left to right and a slight part towards the bottom, and then these are slightly from top to bottom, but actually curved and mostly left to right stroke. This is the syllable ko. Again, we can add the dakuten, and so have go. As for some words with these syllables, yeah, we have this one, but this is it's common, but not as much. Let's not focus on it for now. This is the most really common word with coco. More often than not, as also this dictionary says, usually written using kana alone. Coco, low, high, and it's actually unaccented, and it means here, this place. Then some various meanings derive from that, but the basic one is here, coco. And similarly, the word for go we'll see is gogo. Go. In this case, accented on the second to last one. Go. And this is the word for afternoon, PM. Okay. And with that, we can make... we have seen this way our first hiragana syllables in the order a, u, e, o. The same vowel order for the next row, which is the next column, kagyo, kakikukeko. And of course, in the case of the kagyo, you can add the dakuten to have the g sounds, gagigugego. And so yeah, I'd say we can stop here. We're slightly before 11 p.m. for me, but I'd say it's for the best to not start a new Super Mario Bros. World, and especially not a new set of syllables for now. And so, I go back to the title here. Oops. Let me close the browser window first and foremost. Closing the app. Again, when I can, I'll add the timestamps. So in case you want to see an explanation again, you can do it. And that's it. That's it for now. See you next time.